Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. This is episode 53, Ron?
53.
All right.
I have a joke for 53.
I know we don't got any numbers for 53 either. I don't even know what episode this would be. So it's just episode 53. Anyway, I'm Dave. I'm joined by Ron.
Hi, I'm Ron.
And we got a third. We got
four. You got a friend behind you now, too.
Oh, I got my buddy behind me here, yeah. Number one. We just took a nice long walk today, so he's all tired, hopefully. But anyway, joining us on the show here, no stranger to the show. We've had him on the show before. Al, RedSox Fan. Welcome to the show, Al.
Thank you very much. How are you doing, Uncle Dave and Uncle Ron?
Awesome.
Not too bad. The 95-degree weather has subsided somewhat, so that's good. Boy, that was a hot couple of weeks.
Yes, it was.
I got to go and cut the hay out in front because I don't have any more grass. It's all hay.
I bet not. It's still kind of moist out here.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Today, yes.
Speaking about moist, that's a bad segue. But hey, today we're going to talk about what it's like to be a taste tester for a game, because all three of us have done a little bit of work behind the scenes, either testing a game, being a beta tester, offering advice, or maybe even working on a game before it gets released. And so we got together today and said, boy, it'd be kind of fun to talk a little bit about what that's like, some of the positives, some of the negatives, and just kind of the overall, some of our experiences of playing a game and being involved with a game that has not been released yet. Before we get to that, though, oh, you know what's coming.
Somebody send Aunt Becky a bunch of nail files. I hear she's gone for a couple months.
Oh, so are her nails going to get really long?
Yes. Yes,
they
are.
I think they use cigarettes as currency where she's going.
So, yeah, Aunt Becky's going to be away for a little while.
Indisposed.
At camp. She's going to be at camp for the summer. So.
We used to say at college in my neighborhood.
There you go. She's going to college for a couple of months. There you go. So hopefully she'll come back tomorrow. Anyway, ways to get a hold of the show. Digitaltodice.com is our website. That's where we park all of the shows on Spreaker, and now we got 53 of them up there. 978-751-DICE is the Dice line, 978-751-3423. And on Facebook, our ever-growing Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/digital
409?
Dice.
Was that the latest number I saw?
It was up over 400, yeah. Yep.
Very fun face group page.
Yeah, and we got a couple of people. There's a couple of people that signed up on Facebook and joined the group, and
Yes, there's two of that I know signed up on Facebook just for the group.
Yeah, that was kind of neat. We had another comment this morning was kind of neat, and the guy said he looks forward to our show every week because that's when he cuts the grass. He likes to listen to us.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you get that a lot. See, I do that too. If I cut the grass, I have my headphones on, or if I'm raking leaves or something, I'll always have a podcast on while I'm raking leaves or walking the dog or something. It is good to have on while you're doing like something that you don't really need to concentrate on, like cutting the grass and raking leaves and stuff like that. It's just kind of just going through the motions, and you can listen to stuff.
So are we saying it's not a chore to listen to Statler and Waldorf every week?
Is that Craig Statler? Is that the walrus?
He would be the walrus, cuckoo, cuckoo.
Yes, he would be. So anyway, all right. So why don't we get to what we're playing? We'll start with the guest. Al, what have you been playing?
Well, I've been playing some action PC football. My college tournament, 1970 Elite Eight, and we're getting to the Final Four there. I stepped away from it for a little while, and then I got back to it. So let's finish that one. It's tough playing the college game, and it's a fan created. If you have action PC football, you can go to Field of Dreams Sports Replay. And it's free, a fan created. It's pretty solid. I played a lot of it. So I've also been playing Out of the Ballpark 21, 1976 one and done tournament. A lot of fun there. And Stratomatic Card and Dice 1969 one and done amongst Glory Days Boxing and other things. And it's fun to lose yourself from reality at times. So that's what I've been playing.
Yeah, let me ask you about the college playing in action PC football. Does that play a lot different than the pro?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, only the college teams. I just played a game, and when you're playing an elite team, even if you're a decent team, it is very elite. And I play offense and defense. Again, there's no right or wrong way to play, so play it the way you want. I like to play the offense and the defense, but there is no right way. Or you know what the right way is to play any game? Enjoying it. what makes you happy. That being said, Nebraska to me is one of the most difficult teams to try to defend. I can play the run.
Wishbone. How do you stop the wishbone?
It's not even that with that one, because the one thing I won't do, I don't go in and switch everything. You know, they still run a lot, but Jerry Taggy, who's the quarterback in he completed 63% of his passes in college football then, and that's like, wow. And you just, you're playing the run, and you sit there, you're trying to guess when you think they're going to pass, and they're just driving that ball right down your throat, and you can't stop them. And I was Texas, and I thought at least I could run the ball because I play as the weaker seed all the time, and they destroyed me as ASU. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be able to run the ball. And what I do when I don't have a feel for a team, I don't know if you guys do this because Ron, you do season replays, but actually your season replays, you're playing different teams. With football, I'll play like exhibition, not offline, like play a quarter and a half to see what I can and can't do because I'm not familiar. It's not like I'm playing the Giants or the Patriots. I'm just playing it through for my own love of it, where I get to know what plays work and don't work and how to set up another play. And I just couldn't do anything against Nebraska, and it showed in the video. Which I
try to, when I do the pro football stuff, is to go through and read the box score on Pro Football Reference.
Yep.
Or read through the teams, and so I know I can at least see the stats and know that I'm supposed to be, if it's run heavy or pass heavy, or that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
And I'll play formations if I'm allowed to that they never usually play, just to try to get something going. But yeah, I think the college football game, when you have a good dominant team, they really are dominant. And again, this was a fan. I don't know if I'm saying it properly. A fan created this season. Dave Cook likes that especially he doesn't have a lot of older college seasons. And I was what attracted me to this season, and I'll be quiet after, was it was 1970. The Heisman Trophy winner was Jim Plunkett out of Stanford. I'm a big Jim Plunkett fan because, the Patriots drafted him back in the day. And I always did like him, even when he went to the Raiders. Never liked the Raiders, but I liked Jim Plunkett. So it intrigued me, and I played a lot of it offline. I said, let's do a tournament for ha-has,
The other thing, though, with the baseball season you should do in 69 and 76, there are no good divisional races. They're all runaways. Even the Mets ran away in September, too. And 76, because that would be like, okay, the first year I kind of was really putting things together. Nothing's close. Nothing's, the Reds have it won by the end of April. And the Yankees have it wrapped up by June, and it's so that's the perfect way to do that. That's a good thing if you like a season.
I think I chose the right game for that.
Yes,
because it's a good visual game. And again, people can question other things about that game, and that's fine. Everyone has their opinion, but I think it's a really good. I have not seen unrealistic results, in my opinion, with a one and done where you can mix and match.
Well, anything can happen in a one and done,
right? And that's my favorite scenario, I guess. So.
Okay, Ron, what have you been playing?
Well, let's see. We did the PGA Championship last weekend at Harding Park. That's a fun course, Dave. I don't know if you got that for Action PC or for History Maker Golf. It's a very good risk and reward course. And of course, it's a municipal course, so anybody could technically play it. And it makes it very hard to toughen up for the pros. And so I took old Tom Morris around on Sunday. He won the tournament by, I think, 4. He should have won by 5 or 6. It really was a runaway. And on the 14th or 15th hole, he's at the short par 4. Tee shot lands in a bunker. He's got 83 yards. And so the computer says, this is using ASG Golf, aim it right at the pin. So I aimed it right at the pin, and the dice rolled, and he holed the shot for an eagle.
Ooh.
That has to be exciting when that happens.
It really is. One of the drawbacks of ASG Golf is you can't replay shots. It's like a goal in Action PC hockey. So once it's once it happens, you can't go through and show, because that's one of the ones that you go through and show that again. But that was fun. I I didn't watch any of the real PGA Championship. But I really did enjoy the course, because sometimes the PGA of America picks some lousy courses to contest their championships on. This was not one of them. the 78 baseball replay, getting down the nitty-gritty, about 20 days left. Dave's Tigers have not been eliminated yet.
What was the score of the Tigers game, by the way?
6-0 Bruins.
All right.
I believe the largest lead now is the Dodgers by 5.5.
Oh, that's too bad.
I know. And non-sports gaming, I bought the new Microsoft Flight Simulator came out. First version in 10 years.
Nice. Did you fly to Epstein's Island?
I don't even know where Epstein's Island is.
The only reason I say that is that I on my Twitter feed, a video game feed, someone said that everyone's flying their plane to Epstein's Island in that game.
Dave sent me a picture of all these planes at Epstein's Island. Yeah. It was hilarious.
Yeah. Did you like it, Ron?
I'm loving it. It's so far advanced too, and I finally have a computer that can run the damn thing. To what they were going before. And so I just took off from an airport yesterday in Vermont and just started flying north, trying to figure out how I could actually fly the plane without crashing it.
Does it have an easy mode, or is it all just one mode?
There's 3 modes. There's easy mode, there's not too difficult mode, and then there's super realistic mode.
I think that's a good point. That would be fun, kind of like an easy mode, just where you're just flying around.
Just kick back, because I hear everybody flying over their own houses and stuff, and I was like, that'd be fun to do.
I'm so close to my airport that by the time I get the damn plane level, I'm 3 or 4 miles past where I live. But so yesterday, I got to find another airport to do that from. But the other day, yesterday, I'm going through, and the eye candy is jaw dropping. Everything is where it's supposed to be. And so the town I grew up in, I'm flying from about 10 miles south of that. So I get my bearings straight. I'm not quite sure where I am. And all of a sudden, my first high school pops up on the screen. And it has the combo baseball field, football field. The baseball field is towards the street, and the football field is recessed back. It's the same yard. But
wow.
And they had it right.
Could you theoretically land a plane in Gillette Stadium?
Theoretically, you could.
What's the? I've never seen it, to be honest with you. I was watching on the on Twitter, someone, or was it YouTube? I don't remember. Someone talking about it, and I knew you got the game. What is the visual? Is it like a satellite photo of things you're looking at, or is it an art?
Actually, the ground textures are photorealistic.
Oh wow, cool!
And so there is, because it's Microsoft, they're using Bing Maps. So
I know about
So all the streets are accurate. And after I flew over my old high school, which was really a trip, and the buildings are all supposedly modeled. And so it looked kind of like Poltley High School, which was great. Cool. So I knew immediately where I was. And so the highway that takes us out of town up to where the 4-lane highway is, I was flying through that. And so I saw the US 4. I saw that pop up. Flew over Castleton University, and the football field is where it should be, and the baseball field is where it should be. And so really just, oh my gosh. By the time I get this figured out, it's going to be incredible. And, it comes with a couple jets if you want to do the high flying. It comes with a 747. It comes with an A320. So you can pretty much do whatever it is you want. And I've been doing these things for a long time. But yes, theoretically, hey, you can actually set it for the computer to fly everything.
I'd love if there's an easy mode that I could just kick back and play, maybe even like a controller or a joystick or something, just to go and fly around, and I wouldn't have to worry about all the crashing and stuff. I just want to fly and just see it.
It's that the problem. It's a pricey point though. It's $60.
Okay,
but the download here. One last story, and then we'll ask Dave what he's been playing. I have a backup hard drive where my Steam games go because my SSD isn't very big.
That's all right. That's okay.
And so I went to download it, went right to Steam, and then this is the game itself, and I forgot to.
What?
Go ahead. I know you want to put something up on the screen.
No, there's an airplane going over my house right now. That's all I was saying to Al. You can hear it if I talk. You can hear the airplane going overhead. I'm buying an airport. You could land at my airport. You could come visit me in that game.
I don't know.
I don't know if your SSD would be big enough, but I mean, you could try. So, go on.
May it please the court?
If it pleases the court.
Is this a long story? You've turned this into another minute longer. So instead of installing it on my backup drive, I installed it on my SSD. That was it. Turned that into another minute and a half extra. Yeah. Hope you choke on your pineapple pizza. So what have you been playing, Gardner?
I've been still playing that Ghost Recon game on the PlayStation.
Okay. I watched that. You were playing. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
but it was like I was taking my lunch, and it was fun to watch.
I gotta play more of it. You know what I'm doing? So it's a military shooter game, and I have everything set to easy. Okay, where I can know where the enemies are well in advance, and they die easy, and I die hard. So it's just that's how I play those games, right? Well, this is such a big game. You do these missions and you do these, but there's like these little side things that you can do, and you go into buildings and you find old houses and stuff on this. It's a big island I'm on, and I found a treasure map. And so it tells you, like, it gives you a map of the island. It shows you where to go for the next clue. So I got in a helicopter, and I'm flying around trying to find these places to get the next clue to see if I can get to the end to get the treasure. And it's so different than anything else in the game. It's almost like it's turned into a Tomb Raider type of thing because I'm going into caves and stuff, and it's really neat. It's a nice diversion. It's a game within the game is what it is. So if you want to take time away from saving the island from the bad guys and shooting everybody, I'm flying around with a helicopter, and I'm just following the treasure map, and I'm trying to find things, and it's been really fun. I was going to try to stream more because it is a fun game to play and just sniping people.
Playing that in the PS4?
Yeah, PS4. Yeah, it's for Xbox One too. But I just kick back and I usually put on the radio next to me and I just play this game and I snipe some people and I go in and my helicopter finally has rockets, so I can go into a big camp and like light them up with rockets to soften them up a little bit and then land and go in, and yeah, it's just silly fun. It's like a Call of Duty kind of game, so to speak. But yeah, that's what I've been doing there, because as we talked about last week, I'm in a little bit of a gaming funk right now since I cleaned my house out and I had my surgery. So
you brought up a point, and because I'm on, and I don't think I replied to it, but I was thinking that, and I was laughing with Nurse Teresa. I go, I know exactly how he feels, because if I put something away, I bought games and realized, holy poop, I didn't play them yet, because I sort of, and I'm kind of a messy organizer, but if I sort of put it away, I don't look at it. And
out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. So it was kind of funny when you said that. I could relate totally.
Yeah, that closet behind me that you can't see on the podcast, I put everything right in there. I cleaned out all my music stuff, and I've been selling a lot of my music stuff. So I cleaned up all the space in the closet. So the stuff that used to sit behind me and is in the closet now, and it looks nice and neat down here. But you know, when you come down here and like do the show or I do some work and I walk by a game and I go, oh, History Maker Golf, yes, grab that, go upstairs and play it. Now it's in the closet. It's just that one extra step. It's that one hurdle. Opening the closet, let's say, because you don't see it. You don't see it. It's not,
true.
When you don't see it, you don't think about it. You're like, I'll just sit on the couch and play the PlayStation. So,
and just to go back to that, when you get that little, I guess, burnout feeling, and I listened. That was a really good stream. I really enjoyed it. You play something, and then you just. It happened to me, too, where I didn't stream for a while. It was a little more of a streaming thing, though, where I just didn't want to stream. I just wanted to play the game. But there are times you do something else, and then all of a sudden something clicks for me. And not necessarily for streaming, but I want to play that game. And it happens.
I go through these phases where, like I say, I went heavy into shootout hockey, and then I went heavy into replay basketball, and then I went heavy into strat hockey, and I would do these mini projects. I wouldn't do full seasons, but I do these mini projects. And then the History Maker Golf. Those were 4 and 5 hour tournaments, and I did 3 or 4 of those tournaments. So that's 20 hours.
Yeah,
20 hours of my time.
And I loved your history, just you talking about History Maker Golf. I really enjoyed that. Just like I've always said this on anything I've done. What attracts me to listening to someone or watching someone on YouTube is the passion they have for what they're doing. Whether it's you Uncle Dave, or Uncle Ron, or anyone else in the community, that's what I like the most. Is the passion. Yep. And it was fun to listen to you talk about that game and how much you liked the whole aspect of it. Because to me, it was fun. Is it a game I'm going to play?
It's a golf. If you like golf, you might like this one. This is
just because I'm not into the. And again, you said it wasn't daunting, but I'm not a big flipper of pages and charts. It's just not,
Yeah, no.
enjoyable to listen.
Well, what I enjoyed about it is when you're doing the page flipping and that to get to the chart. It's like, so you roll the dice. And you see, okay, is it off the card or is it off the player? If it's off the, then you go to the book and you read what happened. So what I do with that is, like, while the ball's in the air, I'm flipping the chart. So it's like,
right.
And he hits this one, and if he hits it off the course card, it tends to be a lesser shot than if he hit it off of his own card, so to speak. Okay, so now you roll the dice and you determine where you're going to look to see, and one obviously is usually better than the other. It's kind of like the strat. You get the pitcher card, the hitter card. Yep. One is usually better than the other. So that's kind of how this one was. And so while I would be flipping, I'd be like, oh, he hits this one right down the middle, and I'm flipping the chart, and I see, and this is going to be looking good, and he's going to chip this one on the green for a birdie attempt. So in my mind, while the ball's in the air, I'm flipping the chart. This is how I do that game right there. So it's just, for me, it's kind of fun. But yeah, I think I played so much of that I was like, I need to take a break from this. And again, that's how it was. And now I'm on the Ghost Recon kick here, and I've been playing this, probably 20 hours off and on, and I'm hitting that, every day I'm playing that. And then at some point I'll be like, all right, that's enough of that. I want to go back to a sports game. So that's kind of how I do it. I usually do it in chunks. I find a game and I play a chunk of it, and then I'm like, all right, I've done that. Now I need to do something else. And
for the games I'm doing the longer projects for, such as the Action PC Baseball, I don't play it the rest of the time.
Okay,
it's only for when I stream, and so I'm not sitting there playing it for 4 or 5 hours a day. That's a good way to avoid the burnout, because you've promised someone, right, we're doing this tomorrow at noon or whatever. That you got to keep doing it.
Yeah, I don't think I ever did that either. If I was doing a longer project, and I haven't done too many longer projects, but I've done a few that have taken me a few weeks. And if I'm playing that game, I'm doing that project. I'm not breaking off and playing something else in that game. It's definitely your focus. Because if I'm going to play that particular game, I'm going to do that particular project.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Twitch tells me I'm at like 245 hours too, streaming on Twitch.
Oh, nice.
So.
Nice. All right, so should we get into the topic du jour?
Sure.
Here we go. All right, so we're going to talk a little today about some of our experiences about testing games. Either testing games or maybe the better wording is playing them before they're released to the public, okay? Because occasionally it's happened to me, and I know it's happened to you guys, where you've played a game a lot, or you just you know somebody that plays the game, and they're like, hey, I want to bounce my game off of you. And I want to know what you think, where we have it today. What are your thoughts on it here? And so you're actually either playing the game or you're involved somehow before it's released because they want your opinions on it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I know that's happened to me a little bit in the past. I've actually worked on a game for somebody in the past, just adding some text to the game there. So that was kind of fun. Probably, though, the hardest thing I found about doing something like that is sometimes you're not allowed to talk about it. And that makes it tough because you're all excited. It's like, hey, I'm helping work on a game and I'm contributing to this. And, sometimes you get paid, sometimes you don't. Sometimes they just give you the game or whatever it is. But it's like, that aside, it's like, you can't tell anybody. It's like, what have you been doing? I can't tell you. I can't even say that what game it is because
you're under double secret probation.
Technically, it's an NDA. It's a non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah, and I did have to sign one time on one of the games there that I was doing, and I was just like, wow, this is kind of tough because you want to promote the game, and I liked what I see, but still, it's like, no, you got to wait until the game's out, then you can talk about it.
It's funny you talk about the NDA, and it really is funny because you can tell when Microsoft allowed their beta testers to break the NDA on Flight Simulator, the YouTube videos have started pouring out. There must have been 200 or 300 pre-release videos. This feature hasn't been implemented yet. We know it's coming, but and the genuine excitement. But yes, I mean, Al and I are working on a project that we're kind of under an NDA, although not a formal one.
Right, not written, but verbally.
Not written, but there are things that we can't discuss about it. But it's been a blast.
Yeah.
We could talk about what the project is, and that is Pro Strategy Football 2021, which is a game that you originally brought to your channel, Al, when you were playing. It was on Steam, right? I mean, how did you find it?
Very fun game. I like the animation of it. It plays, to me, well, and they're adjusting things to make it play even better. In the 2021 version, I'll leave it at this: you can go on Steam and take a look at it because the page is up. They've made a lot of improvements, and Ron and I feel like
we've sat there for three full nights. Yeah. That we sat there with a beta tester. I don't think. Have you talked with the designer?
I briefly talked to the developer. Not on my our friend who's the beta tester.
Right.
The developer. He's in constant communication with him. He came on. They're doing a thing on their own, and I just said I love the game. It's a lot of fun, and I think this game. And I've told you guys offline. I might have said it online on one of my streams. This game will help get people into sports sims, a true sports sim, not other games that are button crunchers. This is a sports sim, but the graphics are fun. And I think, not to take away from any other games, I play a lot of games, but I like where they're going with it. And the community is incredible. They make all these free seasons. You purchase the game at one price, just under $20, and then you go to the mod community and you load up your free seasons, your free great team leagues, the graphics, and things like that.
Yeah, and Dave and I are going to be talking with Carrie Bates, the designer of the game, the week of release.
That's awesome, because I think you're going to enjoy that. The brief little communication, and again, it wasn't a disguise. I just said I love the game. I enjoy the game. I think it's going to be really cool that you're going to have someone, and he's going to greatly appreciate being on the show, because he seems like my brief interaction with him, whether he actually was in one of my chats one time, just watching me play along with the beta tester. He seems like a very nice. It's gonna be a fun. I look forward to that. I really do.
Now let me ask you guys this, because one of the things that I found is that as I've asked Ben to play some sports games and non-sports games before they were released, and we're not talking Madden here, by the way, people. These are just some tabletop games that I was doing, but there was one that I did, and I downloaded it and I printed it out and I tried to play it, and I rolled the dice and I had no clue what to do next, and I read the directions 5 times, and it was just a smaller game, and I ended up contacting a developer, the guy that did the game, says, I rolled the dice. What do I do? And it was so hard, because I didn't want to be a jerk, because I know he had spent time designing a game and he thought he had a good game. But I was like, honestly, I read your directions. I have no idea after I roll the dice what I'm supposed to do. I have the chart in front of me and I have the dice in front of me. And maybe you know what to do because you designed the game, but the instructions were so written in such a way that, and he didn't get back to me. And a few days later, I says, I hope you're not mad. I says, I was just being honest. I really don't know what to do. And he's like, no, I get it. We got to rework the directions. And I never heard from him again.
But one of the things that
go ahead, Ron.
I did, a game that Al's very familiar with, the designer sent me the directions pre-release, and I proofread them and clarified a few things. And so I think for starters, find someone who's proficient in English, and that's not being mean or anything like that, who's done some writing before, and said, do directions make sense? Are there mistakes? And I ended up sending him back this 4 or 5 page Word document line by line where I caught mistakes. And hopefully when the game was released, it was more readable. And certainly, because we've all dabbled in design. We know how to play our own designs or whatever, or what we're thinking. But there is nothing worse to a new game than opening up the instructions, just as Dave said, Al, and going, well, what do I do now?
Right. Because I've dabbled in trying to design a football game for a few years now, and I can mod my old Fran Tarkin football quite well, but I want to try to make my own. And I'm always trying to type the directions as I go. Now, I understand my directions perfectly well, but that's me because it's my game.
It's just like going through the whole taste testing thing or recipe design. Yep. I know what a pinch of salt is, but I can't tell you whether it's a
exactly the old pinch of salt. Right. Yeah, this game that I was doing, it had something to do with the building of the pyramids, and I rolled all the dice, and I was just like, where do I stack the dice on the pyramid, and what am I supposed to do, and like, what was the object of the game? And nowhere in this guy's instructions could I figure out what this pyramid thing was supposed to do. And I was all excited because he was like, "Oh yeah, test the game. You're one of the first people to test it out." And then I never heard back from him. So either he scrapped it or he got mad at me, and because I said that I was completely lost in his game. But
well, I hope it's not the other where he got mad, because you're just giving feedback. And feedback's important.
But like Ron, not to cut you, but like what Ron said is sometimes, it just didn't click with me what his directions said. So maybe if he had someone else like myself read it and just say, "Look, I don't know what this means." Maybe it was just written in such a way that some people would get it and some people don't. And I've done that with many games where I've sat down. It's like, man, and me and Ron have sat here many times, and I was like, and I read the directions to Ron, and he would pick up on something that I didn't, and I would either read too much into it or not read enough into it. And I'd be like, which team are we talking about here when I read this? And Ron would figure it out, and he'd say, I this is what it is, but I can see how you would get confused. And so, yes, instructions are really key.
Yeah, that happened with me with Dice Baseball. And it's funny, I had people at work who are not sports sim people. I go, "Can you just read this for a second? Because I'm doing something wrong here." It was just how to check where the fly ball went or something like that, a possible error. And for every other thing, it was you follow the same kind of, wording, right? And this was, and they go, "You just don't make this extra roll." But I never saw that because I didn't pick up on it. He goes, "This is what it is. You don't roll again." And this is not someone who plays a sport, because they were just looking at it where I'm sitting there going, well, on these other two, to me, which are similar things, you do it this way.
I just think one of the hardest things you can do is translate in your mind what you know how it's supposed to be played and putting it into words. And not everybody who writes directions is going to be a writer. They wrote in high school or whatever, but as far as sitting down at a word processor with Word open and go, let me explain how we do this.
Yeah.
And that's just a tough thing.
I actually was asked to watch a movie one time before it was released, long time ago. And it was all over the place. And I was like, the guy said, "What'd you think?" And I was like, "I'm completely lost." It says, "I don't know what this scene had to do with anything. I don't know what this scene had to do with anything." It goes, "Well, we cut out the part where he and his girlfriend break up." Well, if you cut it out, how am I supposed to know that? This scene makes no sense to me until you told me that. And while we cut out the other part about him, getting in the car accident. Well, that would explain this scene here, but when you cut it out, I say, you know that it's in there because you wrote the movie, but if it's not in the movie, then the audience doesn't know he was in a car accident. So you can't cut these things out and expect us to know what this scene means. And that sometimes it happens in these games here where you read it, and it's like, wow, I am just not seeing this right here. But so again, how do you guys go about when you hit that, like, how do you go about telling the person that, wow, this needs some fixing here without...
There was a prototype I tested, but I'm just going to leave it at that because it'll be too obvious what it is. For a product that I don't think has ever seen the light of day. And I went back and forth with the developer. I said, nobody is going to have any fun doing this. This is not a fun activity. But Ron, it's supposed to be X. I said, I understand what X is what you're trying to do, but nobody is going to sit there with the beer and the pretzels and play this game. They are not going to enjoy it. And eventually I don't think it got very far, and I hadn't heard anything since. But it's one of those things for me, David, now where you just kind of tell the person, yeah, you got the piece of the parsley stuck between your teeth. And it may not be pretty and it may not be that, but I'd hate to see someone go through and do the example that you gave and try to sell this pyramid game and not be, or the one deck dungeon, which you struggle, which we both struggle with on Steam. Spending money on something and only having it played once or twice because it's impossible to figure out how it is to win.
The person who sends you the game,
and they're excited about it. It's their baby,
right? And it's tough to say. Now, I've been lucky. The two things I've worked on, I've thoroughly enjoyed. Made a couple of suggestions just on individual athletes' cards that were taken into account, and I was very happy. I was so excited on the game I worked on, helped with beta testing. Sorry, because it flowed well to me. It's something I had tried with another game as a kid to use dice to play a certain game, and it was great. And I enjoy it. I play it. It's up on my channel a lot. And I thank the person who makes the game every chance I see him, because it's so much fun to me, and it's a great for that sport and for the sporting sim community. The other one Ron and I are working on with Pro Strategy Football, we've mentioned, so I'll mention it again.
Yeah.
Pro Strategy Football 21. I've had that game for a while. And what lured me to that game and helped me get with the beta testing portion of it, which kind of came by accident. Would you say by accident, Ron? Because we were asked to do something else, and it turned into us giving us our opinions.
He apparently, because I guess in each of our individual YouTube channels, you can leave us a message, but it doesn't tell us that we have a message. And so he reached out to me about 6 months ago, and I'd seen it. And I replied back to him in one of his videos, and he says, "Do you know how to get a hold of you?" And yes. And so that's how he got it. But he was reaching out, I think, in the middle of the development of 2020 or whatever.
That one I didn't know about until.
Well, I think you had played it on your channel.
Yeah, I enjoy the game.
And they were like, Al RedSox Fan is playing our game. It would be the equivalent of in the heyday of rock and roll DJs of Al RedSox Fan breaking down the new Rolling Stones. I like this one. Let's play it. Oh my God, Al RedSox Fan on WFYI.
You're being far too kind, Ron.
But that's the kind of reach that we have. I mean, we can talk. Dave can talk about the involvement with regular season basketball just because he tried out the game. Tell that story, and then we'll go back into more pro strategy football.
Dave's video is on that site.
Right, but
I bought the game because of Dave. Watching him play, I'm enjoying it.
But it's a similar experience. Go ahead and tell that story, Dave.
Yeah, that just kind of happened where I was looking for a basketball game, and I was in a basketball mood when that happened, and I tried some of them out in the whole bit, and I found this regular season basketball game, and I tried to contact them on email and on Facebook, and nobody got back to me right away. And then I went and I decided to order a season, because what they did so well on their site is you could download 2 teams to play for free. Okay, so you had a free sample. It had free instructions. And then it also had an example of gameplay, which is huge to me.
Very important.
So I could, before I even printed anything out and rolled the dice, I knew how to play the game because of the example. You roll the dice, here's this, here's that. You roll the dice, here's this, here's that. If you want to add in stats, here's how you do that. So the example gameplay was so good and so important. And so I got it and I liked it. So I placed my order, like I said, and I didn't hear back for the whole weekend, so I was like, well, maybe they're out of business because they didn't have any new seasons. And lo and behold, I got the game in. The guy said, sorry, they're in Italy, and at the time, Italy was getting hammered with the virus. And so I was like, okay, fine. And I played the game, and it was as good as I expected it to be. And so I did a review video on it. I thought it was a very fair review video. And next thing you know, the guy contacts me and says, can we put that video on our website? And this was not a yes man type of video. I mean, I really liked the game, but I had some critical things to say about the game, and he still was okay with that. And he put it on his website, and I mean, that video got a lot of play, and I'd like to think it helped him sell some games. And in a way, I think he started to produce more seasons. So he got some business for it. And yeah, I guess I'd have to say maybe I had a big impact on people finding that game because of that video and being a part of that. And it was really fun to do that. And I'm happy for him because he's part of the Digital Dice group now, and I think he listens to the show still. And we were able to, between the show and the video is to jumpstart his game a little bit and get him excited about it again. He's putting out seasons now, and people that listen to the show are playing the game, and it's a fun game, and it just kind of happened.
Yeah, it is a fun game. It is, but that's where the impact can come with something like that. And it is. I bought it because I watched you play, and I bought the NCAA 8045 Big East, and I'm enjoying that. So.
When we were given a taste of what's coming out for Pro Strategy Football, Al had played the game. I had not. And it was quite interesting because I think even in a small group of beta testers, I don't know how many beta testers that they have for that game, I think you can kind of get stuck on trying to find the individual bark on tree 7 and row 5, as opposed to here's two new people who are looking at it going, what about X? And I don't want to get into specifics of what we found right or what we found wrong because that's not fair. But, Al and I were in agreement. What about X? How do we make X work better for era Y? And not only were they very receptive to it, we would get very detailed emails about the changes they had made. And they're even in about a month period from when we were asked to do this to now we're just waiting for everything to be finalized so we can do what we're going to do. The amount of progress and how that receptive they were, because we weren't dealing directly with the developer. We were dealing with the beta tester. Mm-hmm. And so what about X? What about Y? What about Z? Oh, what great ideas. And
that brings me to my next question is that, there's been a time, and I don't even remember the game I was working on. It was a long time ago. Not working on, but I was a part of, so to speak. And they weren't receptive to my ideas.
Yeah, these guys are great, Uncle Dave.
And it was like, and sometimes they're like, here's why we won't do that. Okay, I do get it. I get why, but this to me would be more fun. This to me, and does that sour the game? If that's ever happened to you, and you say, hey, I got this great idea for this, and they basically say no. It kind of sours the game because you're like, I have an idea that would make it better. I think it would make it better, and you're saying no. Now that game is not going to be as fun.
Well, with Pro Strategy Football 21, again, we've been, Uncle Ron and myself, very lucky with they've taken just our thoughts, and we do get these detailed emails back from the beta tester. And I'm not going to share it because
it's because it's still
I'm just saying, we come up like Ron says X or Y, and we're saying certain things like, well, how would they do this in this era of football and this and that, and they are very receptive to what we just discussions.
Absolutely. Very frank discussions.
Ron, I can say this. I don't think it's going to be anything disclosing anything. We'll spend more time after whatever, like our practice streams with the beta tester talking about stuff. And then you'll get an email and you just look at it and they've taken into account what we've discussed. And at least they've looked at it, and Ron can answer that. I think they've taken a lot of our stuff.
It's just amazing what I think I've done 3 or 4 nights with him, and absolutely. And the other thing I think that what they weren't trying to get from us, and I think we both offered, was look. We stream this stuff on a regular basis. We know what our audience expects and what it wants. And if you're using us to promote your product, we're here to help you sell it. We have the audience that's going to buy your game. And so if you do, can you do A, B, and C? And they've done A, they've done B, and 60% of C. And so it wasn't. There was never all that. this project sucks. It was just trying to think of ways to be helpful that they may not necessarily do.
I think Ron and I were totally surprised. Like, we're just talking after, like, oh, it'd be this or that. And they took it and they ran with it. And we gave them some good feedback, and they took it all into account. And and again, I have to be honest, they've taken all of our feedback and done something. Now, they'll say maybe we can't do all of this or all of that, and maybe it's not in this version or next, so on and so forth. But they are very receptive. The emails are very detailed, and they took into account the things that, just like Uncle Ron said, we play a lot of different games, and you see things, and we know what the community is going to say. What about that? What about this? Why is that? And we brought it up, and they've taken it all into account. It's been a lot of fun. I knew I was going to have fun with it just because we get to announce games.
Yeah,
myself and Uncle Ron, and it's just fun. But the what's the word? It's been tremendously more fun because we didn't realize that we're just talking and saying, well, it would be this and that historically, or this would look better to me, or why that happened.
And that's the opposite of a developer that says no, we won't do this.
I don't want to hear no.
Yeah, when they say,
I understand if it can't be done, but I don't. But you're right, Dave.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear no.
They need to. If someone's asking you to help them with beta testing or developing their game, and you're giving them an opinion, they might say no. Like Ron says, not necessarily no, but the reason why we're doing it this way, and they should explain it, and then you should be open-minded because someone's trying to help you with your game.
Yeah,
and maybe if they explained it, you would have went, I get it. Or, that's okay. But what about if we just do this? Did you think about that? And they might go, wow, I didn't.
Yeah, more often than not, because in the past when I did the Game Hounds for 10 years, and we talked to a lot of game developers over the years, going to the conferences and the expos, and there's a lot of stuff that you talk to people about, especially the smaller companies, the 1 or 2 man shows, and they take everything in, and there's been a handful of games that I think they've added some of the things that I've suggested to them, and that's what makes it kind of fun, is when you say, oh, you see that game there? Well, that's because of me. That I help them.
That's awesome.
It is kind of cool when, and it doesn't mean my name's in there anywhere, but it's just like, oh, geez, we didn't think of that. Maybe we should do that, And there's one example I think of that I wasn't involved with, but a friend of mine was involved in, is there was this game, and when you died or whatever, you would come in on like an umbrella. You would float in on an umbrella or a little helicopter and land back in. Right?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. And then you would be back into the game. And he tested it, and he says everybody loved that. And the developer says, well, no, that was just kind of I guess a space gap or whatever you want to call that. That was just something we put in there. We didn't know how we were going to bring the people back into the game. And so we just put this in there temporarily to bring them in with this umbrella or this little helicopter. They would just float back in. And because people loved it, they kept it. But that was not how it was supposed to be. They said, well, we'll just do this for the time being, and people loved it. And so they kept it. And that's the feedback you like to see, is when someone says, this is great. Okay, well, we didn't plan on that. And that's happened to me a few times. Nice to see when they do that.
And I think it's also, you don't want to get into, especially a brand new game. I mean, the one that Al and I are working on is not a first edition. Games get updated every year and so on and so forth. But if you're bringing a new game to market, I think it really is important to be open to new suggestions, because, look, if you've reached out to people to have it tested, we all want to see it be successful. And so if there's something that it makes it different, let's talk about replays in action PC hockey. We can't go through the goal. And so it's been, we've all asked.
Why can't they do that, Ron and Dave?
Too much of a coding issue. He'd have to go back and recode things.
I just don't see, if they can do it in football and they do it in baseball, you would think that, even though it's probably different coding, but you would think that just replay this event.
I think, and there is a beta tester that we know in the community, and we've asked him a gazillion times, and he says, I know. because it'd be so much fun to watch some of those replays.
But what's a kicker is he was saying that they want to concentrate on the fights and the bench clearing brawls, and that's what people want. And the response I got from the company is like, no one really cares about the goal replays. They're more concerned about other things. I'm like,
I don't think so.
I don't think anybody would have any opposition to a goal replay.
It would sell the product more, because when one of the three of us would stream a hockey game to say, oh, great, here's how War scored. He looked right there. He got through the screen, and it didn't even need to, it just kind of promotes the product. I mean, one of the things that we did, I'll talk a little bit about the Pro Strategy Football, and I'm not sure that was intentional in the animation, but we were able to go through, because this guy, our beta tester friend, is big into replays, is that we could tell, Dave, if a receiver actually dropped a pass, if it hit him on the shoulder. And it's just those little details into that particular that just make it so much more immersive to call. And if you and people are going to get the game and go, oh,
here just to talk about Pro Strategy Football and the 21 beta, when it's actually in the prior version, but wait for the new season to come out. It's just so much. The gold one's good. This is so much better. Right. You can go through after a game. Say you just quick sim the game. You can go back and click on highlights and watch them. It is mind-boggling how much fun this game is. And again, when I stream, I'm doing the game. I'm talking about what I'm doing. You can play the game quicker than what I play it. I play at my speed, what I like to enjoy when I'm streaming. But that is, and the stat package is fun, but I think a wonderful thing is, just to get back to why I would like to see a replay in a video replay in action PC hockey, and we've talked about this, and we're talking about it now. I want to the deflection goals are fabulous to me. Now, they say, they wanted to work more on the fighting. Okay, it's two rectangles smacking into each other.
Right.
That's kind of funny.
You can't replay a walk-off hit in baseball, too.
Yeah,
here you go. You've done this for an hour, and you get some sort of walk-off comeback single, and there, thank you and good night. Drive home safely.
I'll tell you one. Dave plays this game, and I enjoy it. A big Paulie, if I mention someone else, another YouTuber, he plays it too. The manager hockey
franchise,
franchise manager hockey. And I've said it on my streams before every once in a while. I actually play the game offline now, and then I enjoy it. I said, it'd be fun. You had the animation with the baseball. Why can't you do it with the hockey? Because, my God, that would be unbelievable. And the result was like I kicked their kid in the groin or something. They were so negative to that comment I made, and I'm like, I buy your game. I didn't say this, but in my mind, I'm like, they don't watch my channel, but I'm going to be honest with you. If you go to their YouTube channel and our YouTube channels, we get more views. And for a long time, we got more views. And I think they've done a better job promoting their YouTube channel. But I'm just saying, why would you be such a negative comment back to me?
I think that game is really, really focused on the manager part and not so much the game.
Have you ever watched a football manager stream? I know that you're not a soccer. It is the top management.
They have animation in that game. I think I know
where animation. It is EA quality. Now they have a development team and all that. It's not just two people trying to throw something together over the court. I was watching a new guy in the community. He did a game, a European Cup game between Russia and Serbia. And I haven't played Football Manager in a while because it is so deep that it's a job type deal. I'm gonna get comments on this on a baseball stream next week, Gardner. You know that because I mentioned that. But I was watching this gentleman call a game, and it was EA Sports FIFA Live quality graphics.
No, it's a very good game. I played older versions, but like Ron, to me, it's a job to play that. No knock on the game. I like to play so many different games, and the other thing that I like old classic kind of teams, and that is the only drawback for me.
Yeah, I want to go back and play.
I want to play like Liverpool from the early 80s. And not that I'm good at the soccer games. I'm not as knowledgeable. And you really have to manage in that game personalities because holy cow.
Yeah, but so if they could do that with just how far OOTP has come graphically in the last 5 years, from pawns on a board to full 3-dimensional stadiums, and it really is the best visual presentation of a sim game, of sim baseball game. I don't get it. It's the same company. It's the same code base.
To think if they could put the players and the movement, and again, it's a fun game. I sim offline when I do it. I just take 2 great teams from different eras and I just play them 7 games. I just look at it, and that's interesting what came out. I enjoy that. I would like to see the animation. And then just to get back to Action PC Hockey, it'd be fun to watch a replay of a deflected goal of the guys jostling in front of the net and the puck goes in. You've watched our streams, or anyone's streams. When I know I'll talk about our streams because I watch, I know you guys do the Action PC Hockey now and then. And you get so excited with a goal, especially when it's the redirect, because that is so cool to watch.
Yeah. And you wonder when they come back and I said, obviously most people don't stream. So most people are just playing and having fun. So maybe they've done the research and the people had said we really don't care. We would rather see more game features than a replay, and maybe we are in the minority.
Can you redo stats? I'm so with all, and I love Action PC games. And again, we're talking about beta, and again, just because we know a beta tester in the community and we bring up, okay, this is what sells the game for me. The video, regardless of whether I stream or not, I like the eye candy. Mm-hmm. The stat packages are awesome with all these games we've talked about. How many more times are you going to tweak it to go? You can really. I get it. I get the stat package. That's just me. If it's that difficult and they don't think it's going to help them, okay, I get it. But it would be nice to me. I like to watch things over. I'm like, wow, that was cool. Look how they redirected that.
I think if you read the promotional literature for any game, OOTP, that is to me, the purpose of the target audience of that game is modern day players to take your favorite team and build them into a championship contender, and that's fine. That's not a knock. So when I get a promo email for newest, greatest, latest game, I read it to see, okay, well, who's this audience? Who's this audience? And for a lot of games, we're the audience.
I'll tell you one just because it popped in my head when you're talking about emails, Ron. Do
people under 40 actually read emails?
That's a good question. The guys, they do the baseball game, but it is oh my God. The football. I went brain dead. I apologize. You guys played that football game. It's like Baseball Mogul.
Yeah, play Driscoll's game. Yeah.
Yeah. So Baseball Mogul, he's actually kind of receptive because I found a mistake in the game, the baseball game. I go, you got the 46 Red Sox mixed up with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And he fixed it. And he emailed me that. And he's actually reached out to the community. And I don't play much. Here's my issue with that game. It's a fun game. I wish he put in a certain mode that you could have like all-star teams, but yet I wish you could shut off trades just so you could just play, because it is a beautifully pitch. It's a fun game. If you want to do all kinds of management, it's a really fun game at a very reasonable price. You get every season, and he's tweaking the ratings. But he's actually pretty good with feedback. And just because you said emails, Ron, he will get back to you and say, no, we thank you. And he switched. He was very happy that I picked up on that. I just wish there was a way, and I asked him to shut off, like when you're playing those all-star type, like the best of. I didn't like that teams were trading because I wanted to see certain guys on the Reds. I mean, I controlled the Red Sox, so I ain't trading anybody. But certain people on the Yankees, next thing you look and you're like, wow, Bob, the Indians traded Bob Feller for, and it was a mega trade. Don't get me wrong. But you're like, yeah, I don't want.
But Bob Gibson doesn't belong on the Indians.
I wonder if you could shut off trades if they had a checkbox or something.
They didn't. I kind of played. I tried to do it in what they call commissioner mode. But then what happened there, it messed up other things. You had to just go all over the place. But it is a fun game if you're playing one season. And again, it has that OTB. And that was my point is the feedback with a developer. And they actually have good feedback for Baseball Mold.
I've really enjoyed 80% of the experiences that I've had overall with working with game developers on their games. I don't share always the equal the passion that some of them do, and I think it's always one of those things that you go through and say, because everyone thinks their baby is the cutest and their baby's perfect, and it's 10 fingers, 10 toes, and they're all headed to Harvard. That's just what we think. Or you think when you design something and you look at it and go, okay, I see where you're coming from. And so when you try to make, because not everything is criticism. Like, yeah, okay, I get what you're going here. What about, okay, you got X, what about Y? Oh, but when, I'm going to be, I think Al knows where I'm going to go with this. I'm not going to be very specific at all here. But when we suggested changes to that game, not only were they receptive, but we had emails within 24 hours showing that the changes had been made. And it's like, oh, because again, when you're you, and we don't need to go any further than this, Dave, were involved in a game design that probably will never see the light of day. It just had too many changes happen too quickly. Like, we're done with this. To sit there and say, here's my baby. Well, maybe, if the eyebrow was just a little bit shorter, you might be able to get, be on the Gerber can the next time around. And that's how I think that process should work. And if someone says, Ron, you can't have cheerleaders on the 50-yard line for a football game, that, something kind of preposterous like that, that's when they say, no, don't do that. But, help us make our product better. Okay, and as Al said, we would sit there after games. We would sit there during games and go.
Yep, that game you talk about, practically every suggestion I made was taken into consideration. And that was good about that one there. And most of my interactions have been pretty good. There's just been a couple where that I've tried to contribute, and they were like, "Well, no, it's this, that, or the other thing," and so, okay, and basically the game was already done anyway, and I was just trying to help out, and they're like, "No, we can't do that or this or that." But for the most part, it's been enjoyable. We'll just kind of wrap this all up here. So, what are some of our final thoughts about trying to be involved? So, taste testing a game. That's what I will call it, because the game's not out. It's still in beta, the whole bit, and you get to play around a little bit. What are some of our final thoughts? Al, why don't you go first?
I think it's very exciting, especially with the biggest one for me is what Ron and I are working on, and it turned into beta. And it's just fun because of the feedback they've taken. Now, I'm going to, not to pat myself or Ron on the back, but our feedback I thought was really good. And they took it all into account. And that was a lot of fun. So I've enjoyed it so far.
Ron?
I would highly encourage people to test out new games, especially if you sport that you love, because you're going to find things that the designer wants you to find, and I think get a better product out of it. But make sure that you have the time to actually, don't say, yeah, I'll test your game for you and never play the blessed thing. Take the time to do it. They've reached out to you for a reason. And as Alan and I've said from the projects that we've worked on, it's all been positive. And although, I'm very confident that what's coming out is a very good product.
Yeah, and that's happened to me too in the past. Several years ago, when they asked me to test the game out, and I didn't have the time for it, and I did a little bit here and a little bit there, and I think they wanted a lot more out of whatever, but either I wasn't enjoying the game, or I couldn't figure it out, or whatever it was. But I find that I gave them a little bit of feedback, and just that particular game, the process there, I just walked away from that one there a few years ago, because I was like, I'd rather just play it at this point. I tried to get involved a little bit. I wasn't feeling it. And so, but that was one of the rare times. So mostly everybody's pretty good with the feedback I give. But one thing I need to realize myself is that I have a certain way I like to play games, and I have certain games I enjoy playing. And maybe I am not in the majority. And I have to
say that though.
I would, because I'm a very particular gamer. I'm somewhat impatient. I want to jump right in and start playing a game. I don't want a huge learning curve. And I
think that's like with most gamers, though, to be honest.
You think so? Because I find myself very particular about what I like and what I'm looking for in a game. And when I'm given the opportunity to work before a game is released, I tend to have a lot of opinions on what's going on in the game. And a lot of the times it's a little unrealistic. Either unrealistic or just not what that game is supposed to be.
Right. So maybe that, like you just said, the game's not for your type of game.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're incorrect. Doesn't mean maybe that they're not incorrect. It's just you're not their target. You've realized you're not their target audience.
And that's tough. It's when you get in that, when it's like when you realize I don't like the game, or it's not going in the direction I want to. And this is not. Just to be clear, this is nothing recent I worked on, so I don't want anybody to think I'm downing a recent game. This is a few years ago. This is kind of what happened when I was like, I'm having a hard time with this. And like that pyramid game too that I was talking about, is like, I just don't like this pyramid game.
That happens. We've all purchased games I talked about offline, and you sit there and you go, I'm never playing this again.
Yeah,
it just didn't. It might be fun for someone else. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
So,
or you buy something. You buy a game and you realize this game's not done. This game should never have been released. It's not done.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what you wish you were part of the taste testing for that game, because you could have said, hey, this is really close. We just need to bring this over the finish line.
Needs a little more seasoning, my friend.
A little more seasoning on this soup. Put some more salt on there or something. But anyway, yeah. So I think we all can agree that we've had way more good experiences than bad experiences doing this here. And it is fun to see your suggestions being taken into account and sometimes even put into a game. And it's nice to be asked to kick a game around, so to speak, before it's released. That is it's a privilege to really to have that. But it doesn't come without, like I say, some of the ups and downs of everything else that goes on. But it has been mostly an enjoyable experience for me, but it has not been 100% enjoyable. Like I say, with the time constraints, sometimes you just don't like a game, or you don't understand a game, or you just have too many questions or too many suggestions, and sometimes the person's just like, just go away. It's like we like our game, and you want to change it all around into something else, so just go away. So I'm like, all right, you can take your pyramid game, and I'll do another pyramid game. So anyway, all right, let's wrap this one up here. All right, this has been episode 53 of the Digital to Dice podcast. A little bit of taste testing of games here, as we talked about some of our experiences getting to play and give our suggestions and feedback on games before they've been released. Joining us has been Al, RedSox Fan. Al, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me on. Hopefully I can be back once again.
Okay, and as usual,
very much Uncle Ron and Uncle Dave. Yeah,
we have Aunt Becky / Uncle Ron with us here.
I'm not Aunt Becky, nor do I play her on television. I'm in a pair.
DigitalToDice.com is our website. 978-751-DICE is the Dice line, and Facebook.com/group/DigitalToDice. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Let's go play some games.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.